Hello drone racers! Oh look, the EV100 goggles. I bet you haven't seen any more videos about these recently. Oh wait, there's like a million of them on YouTube at this point. But I've gotten a number of questions and I kind of want to do a Q&A and go through some of them I've gotten because I'm getting repeats and I thought it just might be helpful for people, especially since there are some misconceptions about them and what they do and don't do. First up, Bobster986. Do they come with a charger? I just bought FPV headset from T-Mart and they came with no charger. They do come with a charger. I'll see if I can find it. I think this is the one it came with. I don't know, I have a ton of these because it's just a micro USB charger. You don't need anything else special for this. This is very important, and I want to point this out first. This battery, which I ended up liking upon my second review when I tore it down, there's a link right there if you haven't seen it, and you should only charge this through the USB port. Do not plug this into your balance charger. Do not plug this into anything else. Only charge it through the USB port. This is very specifically designed for that charging, which is pretty slick, and we're going to cover that more later on another question. That's called a teaser to make you keep watching. Futures. I don't know, maybe that's Spanish? He's probably Spanish. Futures. Yeah, try some Fatshark foam. It made mine fit better, and I've actually done that. So here is the original foam. If you saw my original view, I kept smashing it against my face to make it look better because these do have a small screen and getting it closer to my eyes did help. And this huge thick foam doesn't help at all. So here's what I did. They did look ahead, and this is Velcro underneath. So just like Fatshark's, it's there underneath. These came installed though. So this is the Fatshark foam, and it doesn't technically fit. It's just a little bit larger, but I was able to get it to fit on just fine because it's foam, and you know what? You can squish it and form it to whatever size you need. So I was able to fit it around here and get it very comfortable, and this thinner foam worked a whole lot better. So even though it's a little out of shape, look there, once it's on there, it's fine. And here you can see the difference between the foam. This is much thicker, there's 2 layers, so it's probably gonna come apart anyway. And this thinner foam it's soft, it's weak, but it is thin and soft. So I'm able to get much closer to the goggles with this, and I get a much better view, and it fits, and I have a much better eyesight out of it. So I actually like that a lot. So that's a really good tip, UAV. Aiden Hughes asks, have you seen the new Furby EB100s? I think he means the FB100s, but that's all right. It's Eachine's first time being cloned. Correct me if I'm wrong. Well, not quite, because these were made in the same factory. So yeah, the FB100s are a clone by the purpose of they came off the same line. We don't know for sure yet. Nobody's got them, but probably the only difference is this sticker. They say Furby instead of Eachine. And other than that, I will be very surprised if they are not absolutely in every single way identical because they came off the same plant and they just put a different press on them. When these came out, they were $99. Now they're $160. The Furbies right now on pre-order, which you have to wait until November to get them, but are $119. And if you use the code RC18OFF, they're $106, I think it was. So they're quite a bit cheaper if you're willing to wait. If you're planning on getting these for someone for Christmas, it's probably a really good option. And if you just have a preference, Banggood or GearBest, I know a lot of people really like one over the other. Now you can choose which direction you want to go, but it's available either way. But I would be very, very, very surprised if they are not exactly the same in every single way. Let's see, Saint Me, Street Me, ST Me, I'm not sure, sorry. Does the new production model come with true diversity? I wonder if the DVR will. All right, so the diversity thing I think has gotten blown way out of proportion. I've heard people saying these have fake diversity or false diversity, and that's just not how it works. These have antenna diversity. So what that means is both of these are connected, and this is how it's supposed to work. Now, I've not verified with the wiring that this is working the way it should, but I'm pretty sure it is, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Both of these antennas are connected to the one receiver, and what happens is that receiver will look at the highest RSSI value from either antenna, and it will use that signal. So you're getting the best signal. So if you have a farther range, you're going to get a better signal out of your patch. If you're flying behind you, you're going to get a better signal out of this antenna. So it's going to flip behind you. The biggest difference really comes in how it switches between the antennas. Andy RC, when he was doing the review, he had a good explanation of this also, but he said one of the things he notices every once in a while there will be like a black flicker. And I think in some testing what that is when it switches between the antennas. So there's just a quick little black flick, and it switches between the antennas. And when you have two receivers, you don't get that because the signal has already been processed. It's just switching the live video from the receiver to the goggles. So when that happens, it can do it seamlessly. When it has to switch between antenna signals, you get that black flicker. In some things, I think that's a really big deal. True diversity with dual systems was really designed, as far as I know, for audio. And with that, if you have a pop when it would switch between sources or a cutout when it would switch between sources, you would notice. In this case, we're flying analog FPV. And I see that black flicker when I'm sitting on the bench. When I'm flying with it, it's just another flicker. It doesn't even match in because it doesn't cut out. It's just another flick. And it looks just like every other flick that you get for whatever flying. Is true diversity with dual receivers better? Absolutely. Is this not diversity? Is it totally fake and are they ripping you off? No, I don't think so. It's still a lot better than just having one connection with a single circular antenna because we still have a patch. It's going to use the patch. Again, I've not tested it, but that's my theory on what we've got here. It's still a big upgrade over having one. Okay, final question, more battery questions. If you saw my initial review, I hated the battery. If you saw my battery review, I love the battery. I love the battery even more now. This battery is great. Here's a question from David Clark. On the left side of the goggles, there's a USB port that says it can be used for external power. I'm disappointed that none of the reviews have even mentioned its existence. I did, and I talked about using it, but I didn't show it yet. If it does what I think it does, a power bank in a pocket and a cable should do the trick. Another valid question, which we're going to look at very closely, would plugging a power bank into the battery USB port charge the battery while simultaneously flying using the goggles? I tested this last night, and I'll tell you it was a little bit of a pain, partially because my battery was fully charged, so I had to discharge it. And I've heard people talk about how long this battery lasts. This battery ran for 2 hours before it finally ran out. 2 hours. Now that was not with a lot of signal, it was just static, so it's not totally fair, but that is a long time for me. I'm gonna get an extra one of these anyway, and that's easily a day of flying, so I don't have to worry about that. But the scenario does come up where what happens, and it's kind of nice, when you plug this in, and I have basically a dead battery here, it's flashing at me. So you hold this down, it flashes, and these goggles will beep at us here. So there you go. So I know I've got a low battery. But oh wait, I planned ahead. I brought a battery pack with me. So I carry one of these in my backpack of my laptop all the time, and it just has, it's a portable battery power with 2 USB ports. So my thought was I could connect it to the USB port here on the side. So right now the goggles are lit up. If I kill the battery power, I plug this in and it will power up and they will start working. So there we go. I have goggle power and I could just carry this in my pocket. And while I do that, I could use a separate cord to charge the battery if I wanted to. But I don't even have to do that. Say you have a charger with only one port. And I have some that are even smaller like that. Okay, so I don't want to power this. I'm going to plug in my nearly dead battery and have it connected, but it's going to power on and keep working. And then I'm going to plug this in right here. And this will start the charging process, and it's still beeping for a minute, and there it's slowing down as I'm getting the voltage up on my battery just a little bit. It's still flashing, but this is now providing enough power to the goggles. They stop beeping, and this is charging. I tested this morning for about 10 minutes probably, and I got to the point where my goggles were on the whole time, and then I was up to 2 bars. So it was simultaneously charging the battery while it's powering the goggles. When I did that, the battery, I'll say, was not hot in any way, so it seemed to be okay. I've not tested this on a full charge or done it for hours to know if it will overheat or burn anything out in the battery, but it seemed to be okay for that time period. So there's the answer to your question, David. You can use a power supply, charge the battery, and power the goggles at the same time. It seems to work just fine. So I would just carry one of these with me. You really almost don't need a second battery. I like another battery, and they're cheap, so I'll have 2, but I'll have 2 instead of 4 just to be safe, because these lasted a long time for me, a lot longer than I ever thought it would, and then it worked just fine with the external charger. So that worked really well. I was really happy. So if you found this useful, leave a like down below. And if you have a question that I didn't cover, leave a comment and maybe I'll do a round 2. And until next time, remember, box number 2 just showed up today and I'm not gonna need 2 sets of these, especially not these are white too. The next ones will be black.